History remembers Nero as a monster, a mad emperor, a pyromaniac who played the lyre while Rome burned. But buried beneath the ashes of his reign are stories we rarely hear, stories of the people who lived and died in his shadow. One of them was Pompeia Sabina. She was Nero's second wife, a Roman noblewoman turned empress, and the tragic centerpiece of a palace filled with paranoia, power, and pain. This is her story, and it deserves to be told. Pompeia Sabina was born into Roman aristocracy sometime around 30 AD. Her family's roots ran deep through Roman politics and society. Her father, Titus Aelius, was a senator, a powerful prefect who fell from favor under Emperor Tiberius and was executed. Pompeia's mother, Pompeia Sabina the Elder, was renowned for her beauty and intelligence. After her husband's fall, she remarried, this time to a wealthy man, giving Pompeia a second chance at the privilege she had nearly lost. Raised in a world of imperial favor and courtly ambition, Pompeia was no stranger to the politics of survival. By her early 20s, Pompeia had already married once, to Rufius Crispinus, the younger, son of her stepfather, but that marriage ended, and soon Pompeia caught the eye of Rome's most dangerous man. At the time, Nero was married to Claudia Octavia. The marriage was arranged. Political, cold, and increasingly tense. Then came Pompeia Sabina, described by Tacitus as beautiful and ambitious. She captivated Nero completely. And unlike Octavia, Pompeia seemed to understand how to appeal to Nero's ego and his impulses. What began as an affair quickly turned into something far more dangerous. In AD 62, Nero took drastic action. He divorced Octavia, accusing her of barrenness, a devastating claim in a culture where producing an heir meant everything. But Octavia was beloved by the Roman people. When she was exiled to the island of Pandateria, public outrage exploded. Statues of Pompeia were torn down in protest. Crowds demanded Octavia's return. Nero responded the only way he knew how. He ordered Octavia's execution. She was just 22 years old. And with that, Pompeia became Empress of Rome, but it was a throne soaked in blood. By the time Pompeia entered the palace as Empress, Nero's paranoia had become deadly. He had already murdered his own mother, Agrippina the Younger, stabbing her on her villa's shores and staging it to look like an accident. He distrusted the Senate, his allies, and even his friends. Pompeia had power, but only so long as she could keep Nero's attention and favor. She was said to whisper political suggestions, influencing decisions behind closed doors. Some ancient historians portrayed her as manipulative. Others suggest she was simply doing what any woman in her position had to survive. And it worked for a time. She became pregnant, and for once, Nero seemed hopeful. The year was AD 65. Pompeia was heavily pregnant. The court anticipated the birth of an heir, a child that might secure Nero's legacy. But then, the unthinkable happened. One day, during a private quarrel, Nero lashed out. Accounts differ on what exactly occurred, but most agree. In a fit of rage, Nero kicked Pompeia in the abdomen. She died shortly after, along with their unborn child. Just silence. No trial, no public mourning, and then guilt. Despite the brutal nature of her death, Nero was reportedly overcome with grief. He gave Pompeia an extravagant state funeral. He had her body embalmed, a rare and expensive process, and statues were erected in her honor. But his mourning didn't stop there. According to the historian Suetonius, Nero later found a young boy named Sporus, who resembled his deceased wife. He had the boy castrated, dressed him in Pompeia's clothes, and married him in a mock wedding ceremony. Some say this was love, others madness. or a grotesque attempt to undo what could not be undone. Pompeia's legacy was overshadowed by Nero's infamy, and she paid the ultimate price for loving, or aligning with, a man consumed by power. Her name doesn't appear in triumphal arches or grand dedications. Her story is told only in fragments, by Roman historians, who were often more focused on Nero than the women around him. But we know this much: she was smart and she was politically savvy. It's a reminder of how quickly power can turn deadly, and how easily women's voices can be erased from the pages of history. Pompeia Sabina was a woman of her time, and tragically, a woman lost to it. But Pompeia's life is more than just a cautionary tale. We remember Nero's madness, but it's time we also remember Pompeia Sabina, her beauty, her brilliance, her tragic end. If her story moved you, click like to honor her memory, subscribe for more untold stories from history, and comment below, which forgotten figure should we bring into the light next. Until next time, let's keep listening for the voices history tried to silence.